Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Mysterious Galaxy virtual event. Tonight, I am joined by authors Kristi DeMeester. I probably should ask, is that the pronunciation for your last name?
Beautiful. You did it perfectly.
Because I know in your bio, you said that's one of your hobbies, is telling people how to pronounce your last name.
Yes. And it's so funny because you would think it's not hard. It's spelled exactly how it sounds. And yet I get all kinds of crazy things. So you did it A-okay.
Yay! And of course, Damien Angelica Walters. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming here today. And we're discussing Kristi's Such a Pretty Smile. So of Such a Pretty Smile, this is from the book jacket. So just so you know, someone is out there killing girls who are on the verge of becoming women, who are known as troublemakers, who refuse to conform or know their place. Such a Pretty Smile has been described as menacing, mysterious, a righteously angry fever dream, and a quietly brutal feminist horror novel. This is everything in it, just about. Love it. For those of you who don't know, Kristi's other novels include Beneath and Everything That's Underneath, and Damien Angelica Walters' other novels include The Dead Girls Club, Cry Your Way Home, Paper Tigers, and Sing Me Your Scars. If you want, which we highly recommend, if you haven't already, click the button below that says buy the book and get signed book plate. We have both Damien's and Kristi's books there on that link, but if you buy a book by Kristi, you get a lovely signed book plate from her. And if you have any questions that you want to add anytime during the event, there's another link below that says ask a question. We already have 2 wonderful questions there. Congratulations. And then towards the second half of the event, we'll be answering those. All right, I'm going to disappear for a bit and let these 2 wonderful authors take it away. I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh. Well, hello. It's been ages.
I mean, know.
Not with the emails, and everybody's probably like, oh my God, why are they doing this?
It's so wonderful. Thank you. And I just have to tell everyone who is here, I cannot begin to express how appreciative I am that this wonderful woman, beautiful woman, has agreed to come and be my partner in this, because Damien has been such a rock for me in terms of
make me cry.
Being a baby writer. You have been so pivotal in the development of my career, and so it feels so like a ending, not an ending, but a full circle moment. I'm so thrilled that you agreed to do this, because Damien is one of my very, very, very good friends.
Thank you for asking me. And I have to tell you, so I read the acknowledgments and I was going to shoot you an email and say, I hate you. You made me cry in Barnes and Noble.
Yes. Excellent.
Standing there like, people are going to walk by and they're like, and I'm standing there, doing the fan thing, mask on, the people are like, oh my God.
Maybe it'll make them buy it, because they'll think, oh, why is she crying? This is so strange.
Okay, I like this little crying in Barnes and Noble should be a title. It should be a hashtag. But seriously, seeing friends' books is amazing, but seeing Such a Pretty Smile, knowing that I read it when it was not such a pretty smile, when it was, well, we're not going to talk about previous titles, but when it was a baby book, when it was, I mean, I know in later drafts, I mean, you change so much, but so seeing it was like, I felt the same way that when I saw, when I see one of my books, I was like, oh! And they were facing out on the shelf. I was so happy.
So exciting. So exciting.
Yep. Okay. So I'm supposed to moderate. So I guess we'll start with, tell everybody about the book, how it started, where it ended up, because I've kind of mentioned there were a few drafts. So tell everybody.
Yes. So, and you probably remember this better than anyone. This book actually started with Jazzland as a centering idea, particularly this. I had a friend who sent me a link to an article about Jazzland, particularly this abandoned, once upon a time Six Flags theme park that was in in New Orleans, and said, this is really up your alley. I really think you're going to like this. This is your thing. And I could not get past the descriptions, and particularly the images of this place that had once been all about joy and fun and a place of genuine excitement that had, after Hurricane Katrina, fallen into such a place of decay and degradation that in looking at the images, it was almost like Uncanny Valley, where you knew that you were supposed to be seeing something that was meant to inspire joy, and yet it had this very dark feel to it, and it really created this sense of unease and being unsettled, and I couldn't shake that feeling of the theme park that should not be anymore, or once upon a time was a theme park, but now it's this really kind of terrifying, spooky place where nature has taken over, and the alligators roam the waterways and everything feels very feral. And then after that, and this is going back to probably the first drafts that Damien read, bless you, because that was a very different book. I could not get the idea out of my head of what would happen if a caregiver, so a nanny, a babysitter, an older sibling, witnessed a child abduction and did nothing to stop it. And that's I think the first version you read of that unfolding of what happens when that occurs. And in developing draft after draft after draft after draft, going further and further and further into that core story of what do we do with young women who aren't quiet? What do we do with young women who rock the boat, who go against the status quo, who maybe don't fit into those nice, neat little polite boxes that society likes to put girls and women into? And then everything unfolded from there into what we have now with the dual storylines following a mother and a daughter across this time span of about 15 years, dealing with a mysterious serial killer that the general public, the police, have deemed the cur, who is particularly targeting prepubescent young women, and then unraveling from there. Why do these women these young girls tend to be targeted? What secrets is the mom holding? What secrets are the daughter holding? And how do all these things come together ultimately to hopefully one day, I like to think that the book ends on a hopeful note, no spoilers here, and far be it from me to tell a reader how to interpret a story, but that ultimately how to defeat this thing. So that was really the root of it. And I go back to Jazzland again and again, that was always the thing of, oh gosh, if you have the chance, because Jazzland's a real place for our people who are listening.
Oh, if you have they should go see the pictures. Go
look horrifying. At the pictures. They are so chilling, because especially there's one of a clown head.
Yes.
Tipped on its side.
Yes, that is nightmare fodder.
Yes, and it's like horrible. The eye is broken out, and it just it's uncanny. And so I really, it's so creepy. Absolutely, yes, exactly. That to go and see it. And I think too, there are even certain groups that they will do tours through it. Now, I don't want to go. I don't want to encounter an alligator just roaming around. But I think you can sign up to actually go through. And if I am remembering correctly, I think they filmed Zombieland there, if I'm remembering my trivia correctly. They might have. I don't remember.
Hold on. We're gonna find out. But I know I've the pictures. The pictures are horrifying.
They're really scary.
I don't find abandoned places that terrifying. I don't think you could pay me to go in there. I mean, it's and I think about, urban explorers have gone in it.
Oh yeah.
And just how, I mean, it must just be just the atmosphere itself.
Oh yeah, because and I go back to that feeling of it's supposed to be it's that juxtaposition that makes it feel just a slight touch off, like that surrealism of this is a place, because you recognize it. People have been to theme parks. You know what it's supposed to feel like. And then you get there and it is everything opposite. And so it makes it that much worse. It's so scary.
Whenever I search for something on my phone, it's like falling into real life Zombieland set. Just give me a very quick answer. Oh, and there's a picture. No, don't even show me. It's a picture of, with the, you know what? It's that picture with, you probably can't see it. It says Cool Zone, and it's got the
Cool Zone picture,
roller coaster in the
behind
background.
It. Yes.
Which is just creepy. Oh, and now we're going to go into the history, but we don't need that. All I want is.
I feel like at some point I was looking at the trivia for Zombieland, and it popped up in there that it had been portions were filmed at the now abandoned Jazzland, and I went, whoa.
Yeah,
but
maybe they were.
Maybe I'm not misremembering.
No. Sea of Mon. Okay, it's currently used for filming Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Jurassic World.
Oh, well, maybe I was mistaking it with another movie. Well, there you go. Jurassic World.
That's wild. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely
see
that.
I will say, though, that the Queen's grave that is in the book, if people have read it, that that is not real. that is of the imagination. That is not something that is hidden beneath Jazzland. Please don't go digging and looking for it. You will probably be arrested. But that I in connecting the Kerr to that land, and particularly to that area, I wanted to bring in something that would be grounding for reasons for the attraction to that particular spot. And so the Queen's Grave is not real, although I have no doubt in history that places like that actually do exist, where particularly women of color were put to death for accusations that were either, had no justification whatsoever, or were simply excuses to put women to death for, whatever reason there may be that is convenient at that moment. So it was a representation of a lot of those places that maybe don't have names.
Okay. So
yes.
Let's see. Exactly? No. So, all right. So I'm going to talk. So feminism, because the book got more feminist as I didn't read every draft from start to finish. I know that I read parts of it, and then parts that you updated, and then, but I noticed that, and it fit, because the anger was there from the first draft. I will never forget the scene underneath the house, or the crawl space, and the dirt, and so there was this sense of, and it was angry. It was a really angry scene. It was just this anger and like this rage simmering under the surface. So can you tell people a little bit? Like, I know you didn't set out to say, I'm going to write a feminist horror story. You were a feminist and you write horror. So it's just natural. But can you tell people a little bit how it got angry?
Yes, it
fabulously,
did.
fabulously angry.
And I credit external forces for a lot of that, of seeing those seeds inside of the story and pulling them out and saying, okay, let's take this thing that you're clearly wanting to talk about, or that's clearly there, and let's pull those strings a bit, because that's going to round everything out. That's going to elevate this. And I remember, I think in drafting, I can't remember which version, it may have been the third, it may have been the fourth, who knows, but of reading bits and pieces of stuff from you. Because Damien is so lovely, she lets me read things early sometimes. and reading your stories and reading your books and thinking to myself, ooh, there went a headphone. Hold on. I have really small ear holes. Sorry. Nothing ever fits. I have to get like special little bitty baby ones. But and in reading those things that you've sent me, things from the Dead Girls Club, or your short stories, or even things that have not been published yet but should be, and recognizing not only with that kind of input, but then also input from my fantastic agent, Stephanie Lieberman, and her team, Molly Stanblatt, and Adam Hobbins, and then my fantastic editor at St. Martin's, Alexandra Sahilstor, that there were these seeds in there that needed to be watered, that I was scared to water. Because I have, and you've been there, and you've seen me go through this in the past too, that when you rock the boat, or you point out things that are maybe inconsistent, or maybe balanced, not 100% one-to-one, that if you call that out, you are told, don't be dramatic. You're going to damage the other person's reputation. You're going to make it so that that person can't sell books because you've said, oh, this anthology is all... Sure. And
why are you so angry?
Why are you so angry? Right. Of the best, it's just the best stories that are being picked.
Just, of course.
And so on and so forth.
We only pick the stories that you know we connect with. They're just the best.
And they also happen to have penises in them. So, right. And yeah, and that frustration during the writing of this book particularly became more and more elevated as I was writing. And I just had the most wonderful people kind of guiding and pointing me into the right direction. And as they were telling me, okay, we need to pull this out, if it felt more and more right as I was going through, to let that anger shine through, and to let that discrepancy shine through, and these expectations that are placed upon women or marginalized groups that aren't placed upon other people, and punishments that are doled out where maybe punishments aren't doled out. And you notice, if you've read the book, that the men in the book they're very frustrating. I think that's a nice way of saying that without spoiling anything. And it may be frustrating at the end for a lot of readers to have dealt with these men and seen what they do and seen what comes of those actions. But I very much felt that that was the reality of the world. And that, you know, you want the comeuppance and you want the punishment to come, and maybe it doesn't. And maybe that fighting back is still there. There's still a fighting back, but it's not as triumphant as we want it to be. Even though I feel like at the end there's some triumph there. That's just me. But if that anger was, it's still there.
And I think it's funny. I think that a lot of readers are probably uncomfortable with female anger because we repress it. We've, again, why are you so angry? Stop being hysterical. So we keep that anger buried and we swallow it and we smile.
Oh yeah. And that was a big part of the book. And that was a big part of the big points in the book that I wanted to convey was this idea of using women's hysteria, using women's tendency to be labeled as such or overly emotional or overly reactive as a method of silencing. Of if the fear is great enough, whether that be real, whether that be imagined, whether that be something that is internal, whether that be something that is external, where if that fear is great enough that there is a tendency to silence strictly because there is a heightened feel, I think, for women that you won't be believed. And that can be easily preyed upon and easily manipulated. And that's exactly what happens within the book because of what ultimately unfolds by the end. And again, I hate that I'm like, oh, I don't want to spoil it because that feels so, I don't know, but it's very difficult not to just give away the full ending, but without, or it's difficult to give away details without fully spoiling the ending is what I'm trying to say. But that there's very much those feelings of, oh, if we can just slap a label on it, if we can just deem said woman crazy or insane or hysterical or in need of medication or unbalanced, that her fear of being labeled as such will make her quiet. And I really, that was a big point in the novel. Thank you.
I think, you know what, the scene where is it the school psychologist or the guidance counselor with Lila and her mom? That scene is like, I wanted to reach into the book and yet it's so typical. It's nothing startling about the way he is towards both of them.
Right. And that is something that in writing that scene, I worried about people finding that believable, or people finding that it was very hyperbolic or, twirling mustachios of, like every man is an evil character. But I felt very justified in those scenes because I have sat in those meetings and I have sat across the table from a guidance counselor speaking to a young woman, essentially saying the exact same things. Now, they didn't have a convenient prescription pad in their desk, which there is a reason for that in the book that's happening, and that's revealed at the end. But that I've had very similar conversations with someone in the position of power like that, telling a young woman, well, it's just you're just anxious, or you're I did have one time where someone just said, well, are you on your period? And I almost came across the table. And if I had had the ability to walk away from my job at that point, I probably would have, but unfortunately I didn't. And I think a lot of women have experienced that. Well, are you on your period?
Yes, exactly. Is it that time of the month? Is that why you're
right?
Is that why you're, overreacting, or you're, instead of, maybe it's just because, you're an asshole.
Sure. Or even, and so what if I am? That doesn't negate anything that's happening in this moment. And yes, it's definitely something that, particularly with those scenes, particularly with dealing with Lila, bless her heart, and Macy,
who turned out wonderfully. Lila is fantastic. She is so realistic.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, because I very much worried in writing Lila that people would, in some of those scenes and in some of those moments where Lila gets a little bit more, what's the right word, feral, violent, that people would see that as unrealistic. But I suppose my feelings with Lila, particularly at being 13 years old and going through puberty, that I viewed her as very realistic, not only from my own experiences of being a 13-year-old girl, but also from teaching for a very long time of that age range. And I am not anymore, thank the heavens. But that I think that if anyone tells themselves 13-year-olds don't think those things, 13-year-olds don't say those things, I think they would be very surprised.
Yeah, I think they probably don't know many 13-year-old girls.
Either that, or they're willfully kind of covering their eyes and still wanting to see that innocence and that sweetness and that polite mannered young lady that a 13-year-old is quote unquote supposed to be. I was vile when I was 13. I mean, I was nasty. You know, stealing my best friend's dad's, cigarettes, and going out and like standing outside of the, Kmart in my shortest shorts possible with a lot of makeup on, and being all the things that I was told I was supposed to be. That was back in the day of all the teen magazines telling you you're supposed to be sexy. And oh gosh, if anyone remembers that, do you remember Fetish? The Fetish perfume?
No.
No?
I don't remember.
This perfume was targeted, and it was called Fetish, specifically to like preteen and teenage girls.
Oh God, that's awful.
And I vividly remember an ad in a magazine, and it came in a roller ball, and it came with glitter, which is like the best thing ever, of course. And it smelled terrible, but it had glitter in it. And the ad was a woman, right? But it was targeted toward young women, in like a very low cut top, and she had it all over her neck, and you could see the glitter, and it said, "Apply liberally so he can smell you when you shake your head yes." I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And I remember being like, yeah.
Oh.
I was 12, right? I was 12. And I just,
wow.
as I was writing Lila, I was putting myself back in that place of trying to do all of those things that would make you feel like you fit into the world that the magazines said you were supposed to fit into. Like you fit into the world that the popular girls who, y'all see my neck flushing. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. You fit into the world that the popular girls fit into because they were replicating those magazines. And to me, that's what Macy embodies, right? She is all of the things that young women are told that they should want, that they are supposed to be pretty and popular and forthwith with their body and all that good stuff. And Lila is desperate to have that, not just because she's going through puberty and you want to have all of those things, but also because she's carrying inside of her the secret that she feels she can't divulge, that she's in love with Macy, of that she is very much attracted to her, and she feels like she can't share that with anyone. And the thing I really wanted to convey with Lila, though, is, okay, Have we seen Ginger Snaps? Okay.
Yes.
I love that movie so much. But when you think about women going through, or young women or girls going through puberty, how many stories, films portray young women as, when they go through puberty, it is monstrous. You are a monster when you get your period. Ooh, you turn into a werewolf. If you are Reagan in The Exorcist, you are literally possessed. If you are living in a house that has a poltergeist, it is your fault because you're on your period. And so I wanted to play with that because in the book, if the cur is representation of everything monstrous, and the things that Lila is going through are monstrous, is it her puberty, or is it some kind of outside force that is influencing her to fit into the box that is expected? That might be the best thing I can say without fully revealing everything. But I really
I think that's good.
Yeah. Because it's like, girl, and like, you don't see that with boys.
No.
Like, boys are, I lost another headphone. I gotta go under the table. I'm sorry. See, I told you I had small ears. But that, like, yeah, you don't see that with boys where it's like, oh, they're going through puberty and now they're a monster. It's like they're going through puberty and now they're going to go on this life-changing journey and they're going to go poke a dead body with a stick. You know, you don't see that.
Yeah. No, boys, I think with respect to boys in puberty, it's their voices change and they eat a lot. That's the perception. So they don't, it's not with the girls, it's the, they suddenly become irrational and hormonal. And not in a good, it's never a good way. It's never a good thing. Boys are never hormonal. Boys will be boys. But girls are hormonal. And I think you captured that with Lila perfectly.
Thank you.
All right. So before I went through my my bookshelves and I tried to pull off some books because we always exchange what we're reading and favorite books. So I have a little stack here of some favorite novels by some recent, and well, all right, so we'll put yours on top. But I think it's probably easier if I do this. So, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
So, obviously, we have yours. So, this book is one of the weirdest books that I have ever read, and it is fantastic, and it is dark and twisted. I think it's out of print. Yes,
I'm writing it down.
It is. It's Pluto Animal Lover, and it's just fantastic. And then I know you've read this one.
Oh, yeah.
I love this one. I love this book.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Oh my God. That book is the most, can I curse on this? I'm sorry. Am I allowed to say? I don't know if I'm allowed to say things or not, but that is the most messed up book I've ever read.
Okay, so Pluto Animal Lover is in the same vein.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because anybody that says this isn't horror, I don't think so.
Get out of here.
And I know you love this one.
I love this book so much.
Do you know her next one?
It's a werewolf book.
About werewolf. Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I love everything. Oh my God. Yes. That's such a, oh my God. It's so good. I love Rachel Harrison though. I love Return, or wait, is it The Return?
Yeah.
The one about the hotel? Oh,
yes.
It's so creepy.
Yes. And then.
I love this one. And I have to tell you, So when I got the blurb from her, I lost my mind because I love that book so much. So much, and was so thrilled that I got that. But yeah, those are some great ones.
Well, because I know we're always telling each other what we're reading. I mean, I've bought books that you've recommended, and some that I've read, and some are still on the shelf waiting to be read because the
there's
to read
always
pile
left to be
is
read.
always.
Oh, yeah.
But
I wish I
most
had
of the time.
Oh yes, I wish I had pulled actual books of I will say, well, here, oops, there goes Ruth Bader Ginsburg off of my shelf. I have Funko Pops everywhere. I mean, look, guys, look, hello. Should get this one. Oh, I'm not mirrored. My bad. That's a good one. But then I was also going to say, if we're recommending books, I don't have a physical copy of this because I read it as an ebook. But Camilla Bruce's Let Me In. Have you read that yet? The one about it's like a fairy, but it's kind of vampiric.
No. I've got another book called Let Me In.
Oh, okay,
by a
okay.
different
It's
author.
not that one. It's this one's called You Let Me In.
Okay.
And it is by Camilla Bruce. It's amazing. And it is, oh gosh, because it's creepy on its own right, in that it is, like I said, kind of about like dark fairies and like very vampiric, and it's lyrical and beautiful. But then it's incredibly allegorical. And then when you realize what it's really about, I mean, it just rips your heart out of your chest and just like hands it to you, like, here. So good. This one too. This was just on my shelf. Oh, Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This is the graphic novel.
Oh, look how beautiful.
It's beautiful and creepy and wonderful. I love it so much. This was just one of the first ones I saw on my shelf, but I cannot recommend her enough. And then my other absolute recommendation for people who need recommendations, if you haven't ever read Helen Oyeyemi, you need to rectify that ASAP because she's so good.
Yes.
White for Witching, is one of my...
White for Witching is with the house, right?
Yes, and the pica.
Yes.
I have never been so unnerved by a dress mannequin in my life. There's a scene in that book with a dress mannequin. I'll never forget it. I wake up in the middle of the night and see.
Isn't there something with the hallway and an umbrella stand or the staircase? Maybe I'm misremembering, but
there's definitely stuff with the staircase.
Okay, it's just unsettling because everything is just, you read it and you're like, wait, everything is just a little off, and it's like it's not frightening, it's unnerving. It's
oh yes, it's the kind where you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you go, what is that?
What is the light in the hall? Like, yeah, you're definitely
right. Absolutely. Well, I was going to say, I don't know. I'm looking at the time. Do we want to answer some questions?
We could do that.
Okay. I'm clicking buttons.
Okay. So I'll you want me to read them out loud and then you can?
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So, this one's for both. Kristi and Damien, what was the cover design process like for the both of you?
You get to start because I've been talking for a lot.
Let's see, the cover design. Goodness, I was sent the imagery, and we had actually been. I had been talking to my editor about ideas and concepts, and then she sent the image, and it was completely unlike what we had spoken about, and I loved it. It had this very funereal, just I don't know. It was grim, but it was beautiful, and it was yeah. I was sold.
Oh yeah, because if you haven't seen it, I mean, like, you can see the flowers and how gorgeous that is, but look, The flies.
Yes. Oh yeah, the flies. And
That's
I
the
believe
best
there are
part.
4. I counted them. There are 4 flies.
And it
Yes.
just fits the book so well, because that's absolutely what's happening in here. Is you have these beautiful things kind of slowly turning into things that aren't beautiful anymore. And I felt like it just fit so well. I love this cover.
Thank you. I do too.
Absolutely.
I do. It's yeah, I think it's because Chelsea, my editor, she was like, the flies. And honestly, I have to say, I didn't notice them first. I noticed all the flowers and all the dark in the background. And then I was like, wait, is that it's a fly.
I love too when you can find little things like that in covers, where I'm thinking about like Carmen Maria Machado's Her Body and Other Parties. For the longest time, I didn't realize that center image was a corset. And
Okay.
and I can't even remember what I originally thought it was, but it took me, see, and now I can't. Of course, now I can't find it because I'm specifically trying to look for it. Oh well, but anyway, I remember being very like, oh my gosh, like there's just layers to it. So for me, we went through a couple covers before we landed on the one that we have now, and we were trying to find this perfect mix between kind of this toothsome sense of violence, but also feminine at the same time. And that's somewhat hard to do without landing maybe a little bit too far in the sexy. If that's hard, if you know what I mean,
Yep.
where I feel like so many feminine gestures have been sexualized. So even like the finger against the lips, where this is a shushing motion, but I think you put a reasonably attractive woman on a book cover doing this, and it's immediately like
Becomes a music video.
oh, right. And so exactly. And
Right?
so we were kind of going back and forth on like points about the cover. And then when the team came back with this, I was so blown away because it hit so many of the things that we were hoping for. So there's the femininity and just the lines of it's these very kind of soft lines, and obviously it's the silhouette of a woman, but then you also have, I mean, you have the harshness of the blood drip, but then you also get the sense of artistry of it. This could be a paint smear for Caroline, and so it really hit a lot of the things that we were looking for. And I remember seeing it, and here's a fun fact. The day that I saw the very first cover mock-up for this was the day last March when I broke the crap out of my ankle.
Oh.
I was in the hospital. I saw it that morning, and then by that night, I was in the hospital because I had broken it and dislocated it, and it was facing the wrong way, and I had to have surgery and everything else. And so when this finally kind of came out of it, it felt very triumphant in a lot of different ways. So God, I love this cover so much. I want to like put it on a blanket and sleep with it every night.
Well, I remember when you finally were able to share it with me, and there were many exclamation points. I think back and forth because it was just, I mean, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary cover.
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So I think we did that one. I don't know how to clear it. Oh, we did.
Oh, it's gone.
Cleared it. It's gone.
Okay.
Thank you, whoever did that.
Okay. So, Kristi, what are the unique benefits to reading and writing horror versus other genres, in your opinion?
Okay. I think horror has a unique ability to be empathetic because it allows us to tap into emotions that we are maybe often ashamed to admit or ashamed to feel. And whether that be jealousy, rage, whether that be sorrow, a lot of those things that we often try to push to the side and not deal with because it's not pleasant and it's not polite and it's not pretty. And that writing and reading inside of that gives you that openness to explore those emotions, to explore those feelings in a way that is safe and in a way that is not damning. Whereas I think in maybe some other places you would feel judged.
I think horror has an honesty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always a nice honesty, but
oh yeah, because even when Freddy Krueger is slashing people, there's a reason.
Yes.
And we laugh. But yeah, I think it gives us an outlet to deal with emotions maybe we're uncomfortable with dealing with.
Okay. Well, that comment's still there. So here we go.
Twiddle
what is the process? Oh, now it's gone.
There it is.
What is the process you go through to keep yourself writing during writer's block?
You go first.
A lot of not writing, a lot of working out, a lot of reading, painting my nails, watching random videos on YouTube. Lately, like things like watching Russian manicures. Like I will, a lot of it, because I think sometimes writer's block is not necessarily that you can't write. It's that the words are here and you can't get them out. There's there's always words. You wake up in the middle of the night and you have, amazing sentences and you think, okay, great, it's done, it's over. And then you wake up and you look at the blank page and you nothing comes, but those words are there. So I think that it's or sending you emails saying, ah.
I think if we could go back over the years and count all of those up, we would have probably in the hundreds.
That and why is everything so slow?
Yes. Everything is slow. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I absolutely agree. I think my process is and my writer's block is always associated with fear of it is always, I'm not going to be able to do it again. Every sentence I type is a turd. I am the worst. Why am I doing this? I am an imposter. There are so many people who are so much better than I am. And why am I bothering? And it is, I will usually, and this is at your advice all the time, of trying to refill the well. I'll try to find something that I know will be inspiring, a really, really, really good book or a really, really good film that will get the juices flowing again. But it's also sometimes a lot of just getting on Instagram and watching reels. I haven't done the TikTok yet. I can't manage another social media account, but it's a lot of that, of just either trying to refill the well with things that are inspiring or mindlessness of, if I can be mindless, I will be fine. Driving is weirdly a weird thing for me too, where if I'm blocked, I know some people say I get all my ideas in the shower, and that happens for me too, but mine is mostly when I'm driving. If I can just space out for about 20 minutes and just drive, things will get going. It helps.
Mine is usually in the morning. Like I'll wake up at say 5:30 and I say I'm not getting out of bed until 6. And then all of a sudden the words, and I'm like, 5 more minutes. And I'm like, all right, it's 5:45. I've got to get up and, But I think a lot of writing happens when you're not writing.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. When you're staring out a window, and it always happens that way, where all of a sudden something pops in your head and you go, I cannot believe I didn't think of that. But,
yes.
And then it's just there.
And I love that. I know we've talked about it, how we end up writing things in our books where the seeds were there. Everything was there, waiting. It was like the all those little seeds just waiting for us to notice them, or someone else to say, did you see
right
that?
Hello. Yeah, hello. Of the last story that I had in the dark, where of course now I can't remember the title, but it's the one with the woman who grows the hooks at the ends of her fingers.
Oh,
and she starts eating raw meat, where you went
yes.
at the end, she was like, she needs to eat them, and I went, oh my god. Of course she needs to eat them. Why did I not think that?
Yes.
If you haven't read that story, it's a good one.
It's very like, yeah, the oh goodness, let's see. Okay. All right. Are we jump? How did you land on your book titles?
Book titles. Okay. Let's see. Oh.
I think we both have a couple. The Dead Girls Club was not called the Dead Girls Club. It was called, oh bloody hell, I don't even remember. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. It was
Red Lady?
No, it was The Liar's Truth.
That's right.
Yes. Kind of saying, hey, this narrator might be a little unreliable. And then my then agent didn't like it, so we changed the title. And now I don't remember what the title was. It was something else that it went out on submission. And then an editor came up with, said, I really think you should call this the Dead Girls Club. And so Heather, my then agent, which is funny because Heather was the main character in the Dead Girls Club, we went back and forth, and I finally was like, well, okay, that works for me. Titles are, you can't get too married to a title with a novel. It's different. I mean, you and I both are fans of very long, elaborate titles for our short stories, but I think we've both figured out that with novels, there's so much to play into it. It's not just, I like this title,
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, Such a Pretty Smile of You Knew It for Forever is The Kingdom of Beasts.
That's it.
Yes. Yeah, that was the Kingdom of Beasts, and that was just beasts in my mind. And because that was what the cur originally was. The cur was originally the beast in my mind, and I went in conversations with my agent. It was like, she was like, you can't call him beast. That's like Disney. You can't do that. And I went, you're right. So in developing the title, we wanted something that had some rage. We wanted something that had some idea of kind of that femininity in relation to rage. And so in discussions with my publisher, they really wanted a phrase that was common, that sticks in the head, of a phrase that is recognizable, but that also encapsulates that rage. And so when we landed on Such a Pretty Smile, it was very much that idea of when women are told, oh, you'd be so much prettier if you smiled, or like, oh, smile, sweetheart, and I went, that all those things kind of coalesced without necessarily being so in your face. It's very subtle. It's very interpretive, where someone could look at this and it makes them think. And so that was how we ultimately landed on the title, which now it's funny because once you land on the title, doesn't it feel like it was always that title?
Yes. And I think for me, because the girls in the novel, their club was the Dead Girls Club. I mean, it was right there. Always.
Right.
Why I couldn't see it? Because I'm the author. It was too close to it. It took somebody else to say,
It's always how it is.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right, but I think that's the way it is. We're always too close to our work. Kristi,
oh my gosh,
we all need to know more about your horror-inspired candle company before the end of the night. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. So I was trying to think. I think I have any up here. Oh, you have one? Yay! Fantastic. Okay, what have you got? You got okay, yeah. Ripley and Mr. Dark's Carnival. So I probably about, oh gosh, a little over a year ago. Oh, yay!
This is the one that you made, Red Lady, Red Lady.
I did. I made one specifically
Yes.
for Dead Girls Club.
Yes.
But I've always loved smells. I'm a smell person. And I had gotten a few years ago really tired of basically lighting my money on fire. Because if you want a candle that has decent throw and you light it in a room and it actually goes throughout the room, you're going to spend, $30 to $50 on something that's going to last you maybe a week. And or if you spend less, it's not as good, or it doesn't have as much throw. It smells good in the candle, but then you light it and the smell doesn't go anywhere. And so I just started experimenting, and then eventually started kind of making my own candles. And I've been doing that for like a couple of years. And then I had someone come over and say about a candle that I had made, oh, this smells like fall. This smells like Halloween should smell. And they meant the holiday. I heard the movie because that's how my brain works. And I thought to myself, if you lived in Michael Myers' world, what would that smell like? And then I went, okay, it would smell like fall leaves and smoke and maybe apple and chrysanthemum and all of those things that fall are supposed to smell like, And I couldn't get the idea out of my head. And so I started talking with my husband about it, and I said, like, what if I made candles that were horror inspired? And I know that I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm sure there's other companies that do it, but it seems like it would be a fun way to interlace a couple of my hobbies. And he's like, go for it. He gave me the name for the company. I'm going to publicly say this. I said it on a previous podcast. He gives me so much crap for not crediting him. My husband gave me the name for the company. Sent from Hell Candles is his name. My husband loves a pun. He loves a dad joke. He loves a pun. And so Sent from Hell is his name. And it just went from there, where I went, if I was living in this movie, if I was living in this novel, what would it smell like? And so, like, one of my favorite novels, We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I've had a couple candles for that. I have Mary Cat, which is like a tea and sugar and kind of cake scent of what would that smell like? Or then there's another one that is specifically After the House, that is blackberries and smoke because of the burned down house at the very end. That I love thinking, if I'm in that environment, what's it like? So I have so much fun just putting those things together. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Let's see.
Unfortunately, we are just about out of time. I want to answer all the questions, but we've hit our 1 hour mark. But guess what? We got to ask the question about the candles before the event went out. Yes, that was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Kristi. Thank you so much, Damien, for doing this. Thank you, everyone who went along this journey with us. If you haven't already, don't forget to click the link below so you can go ahead and buy your own copy of Such a Pretty Smile and get a signed book plate from Kristi. Before we go, ladies, where can our lovely viewers find you on the social medias?
Oh, go ahead.
I would say Instagram for me. I am on hiatus from Twitter. It's been about 1.5 years now, I think. And I am on Facebook sporadically. I've been mostly just posting Wordle scores. that little game.
Oh my goodness.
I wasn't going to go back on social media, and then I found out that a friend of my brother's had passed away, and the information was on Facebook. So I went back on, and I'm very limited because it's just way too easy to get, like, just lose hours and hours of time. So, but yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
And I am at, my general website is just www.kristidemeester.com. And from there, you can also find links to social media. So my Instagram is sent from hell. That is actually SCENT. And then also you can find me on the tweet machine, same exact thing. And fortunately, I am not on any other social medias at the moment. That who knows if that'll change, but for now, those are all.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much, you two. This was wonderful, and it's just so good. And I know, it's so good to have a book that you were obviously talking about, when a lot of emotion went into it, finally give birth into the world, and it's out here. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I will see you next for the next virtual event. Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.